Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, the information for the fitness center has not been provided, so I do not have a report for this evening. I know that we are still in the negative amount, just don't have the dollar amount. That information was not forwarded. So hopefully next month I can have that information and then I'll be able to share it with you.
And for the record, everyone gave a report this evening, and I just want to say to the Board of Trustees, if you guys will have committee meetings, I think you guys will have information that's needed. I don't like when people get up here and say that something wasn't.
All right, everyone, we're off to a familiar start. Reliable Tammy Brown was set to present a report, but she claimed she didn't get the required details in time from Tiffany Henyard's administration. And, as expected, Tiffany deflected the blame, insisting they could have easily reached out to her or her team directly. Same story, different day. Welcome back. In today's video, we're diving into a heated board meeting where the trustees challenge Tiffany Henyard over her latest hires. Now, she's pushing to get them paid, even though she brought them on board without the trustees' approval. Let's get into it. Oh, Mayor, if I may, can I read the corporate bills into the record? Go ahead. Now, you already know this is where things start to get interesting. Jason begins reading the corporate bills, and, like clockwork, he's about to remove a few items from the list. Why? Because, as always, they're caught off guard by certain charges that need more clarification. Let's jump back in. I won't have him read every single detail, but we'll pick up right before things heat up.
On this register, $2,454,619.43. So for the payroll portion of the bills, I motion for payment of payroll for all employees that were on the payroll January 12th and before, January 12th, 2022 and before. Received the payroll list today at 4:00 p.m. So I was not able to go through that list to see any new additions or potential new additions, but there were none that were run by the board. So my motion on payroll is that any employee that was on payroll January 12th, 2022 and before be paid, all others be
saying he's willing to approve all the bills, except for the payroll of the employees Tiffany hired after January 12th. These are people she brought on without ever presenting them to the board or getting their approval. Sound familiar? This is just what she does. Hiring whoever she wants without following the proper procedures, like conducting background checks. Remember when she once hired someone with a violent criminal record as a code enforcer? That position gave him access to enter people's homes. That hire had nothing to do with benefiting the residents, because if you're going to put someone in a role with that kind of authority, the safety of the community should be the top priority. But no, Tiffany hired him because he helped with her campaign. This is just another classic example of Tiffany making decisions that serve her own interests, all while insisting that everything she does is for the people. But as we all know, actions speak louder than words, right? And of course, these are just my opinions. Now, let's get back into it.
On the remainder of the bills, is that the remaining corporate bills is read into record, be paid with the exclusion of DLC Properties, which is on page 6 of the warrant list, $1,000 payment. EPG Chicago payment of $1,000 on page 7. Fink Safe and Lock Co., which is on page 7, $5,000. Page 12, Neighborhood Surveillance Systems, $12,129.36. And additionally excluding all manual checks. So my motion is to pay corporate bills with the exclusions noted.
All right, you guys, we've got Jason House doing what he always does, removing items from the list. That's his job, to keep an eye on the finances. And it's the trustee's job to make sure the mayor isn't recklessly spending the budget however she wants. We all know Tiffany loves hosting events, because they give her a chance to show off and later brag in meetings. Hey, look what I'm doing for you all. I'm such an amazing mayor. I care about the community. Meanwhile, she turns around and tells everyone, ignore the trustees. They're just haters who don't do their jobs and want to block progress. No, the trustees are trying to prevent wasteful spending. But Tiffany acts like the budget is unlimited. Since it's not her money, she doesn't seem too concerned. At least, that's how it looks to me. Just my opinion. Now, let's move on to Trustee Kiana Ballar, because she's got some serious questions for Tiffany.
Motion and second, any discussion?
May I be recognized?
Yep, go ahead.
There was a couple of questions. We received this on Saturday in reference to some things. No, it was late Friday. I want to be correct. In reference to some things that was on the warrant list. And Trustee House just pulled some of the items, but there were some questions about some refunds that were issued. We have 14812 Indiana, which was $1,000 refund was issued to EPG Chicago SSH LLC, but they turned over a $15,000 check to the Village of Dalton. So there was a question in reference to that, because that same day, another $1,000 check was issued to the same property, which is a house at 14812 Indiana, and then the owner was David Cannon. So we pulled that because their email that went out stating that we have to copy the village administrator and set an appointment to speak to either housing or finance or whatever. And if we got it on Friday evening, and today was the only day that we can really speak to someone, we wouldn't.
All right, looks like we're diving into some real estate questions, ones that, to be honest, I don't fully understand. But that's not really the point. It's not about the question itself. It's about Tiffany's response. I can almost guarantee she knows exactly what Kiana is asking. But the real question is, will she actually answer it? Will she provide any real clarity? We'll get to that in a moment. But first, a few other trustees had some concerns they wanted to bring up. Let's hear from Trustee Ed, Steve, and Brittany Norwood.
Go ahead.
I guess I'm just wondering when we receive the credit card bills. I know it's been like a month or two since we received the credit card bills. So since we're going over corporate bills, I was just wondering, do we have them, or will we receive them, or when we will receive them, if so?
All right, anybody else?
Was that a question?
Yeah, there's a question.
You know, the trustee asked, I'm gonna say my statement so we're not going back and forth. Everybody get out whatever they want to say, and then I will respond. Thank you, sir.
All right. Trustee Steve is making a solid point here. And if you have any sense of reason, you'd probably agree. He's spot on. The necessary information should be provided well in advance of these meetings. It's just common sense. If there are questions about the bills, trustees should be able to reach out and get clear answers ahead of time. Well said, Trustee Steve. Now, let's hear from Trustee Brittany Norwood.
Chris, you find the answer to my question?
Not yet. I gotta see where, I don't have access to the billing from here. So when I get to, I can look into it and get you an answer.
So you don't know why y'all charge us $28,000? And is that for just 1 month or several months? Do you know that at least?
I know that it's for work that we've done for you guys over the last month and a half, but I don't have the invoice in front of me, and I don't have access to the invoices from my computer.
Okay, well look, I think you need to come here more equipped, because I'm gonna always have questions about this warrant list, and you never have an answer, especially as it relates to your billing of $28,000. I at least thought you could tell me, trustee, this is from April to May. You can't even tell me that. Who put this together? Someone put this together so it can go before the board. So when y'all put it together, we're voting on what you guys write. So I'm saying that make sure it's accurate and correct so that I'm giving the right vote, per se. I have to ask a million more questions just to get gloves out of a PW shop. That's crazy. That's all I'm saying.
Look at that little smirk, you guys. It's like, yes, I heard the question, but give me a second. I'm about to put on my gaslighting performance. She's gearing up for her usual grandstanding, dodging real questions, shifting blame, and pulling out the same old smoke and mirrors. And by the time she's done, people forget what they even asked in the first place. That's her whole strategy. Stir things up, get everyone flustered, and completely distract from the actual issue at hand. And the real issue, paying the bills. But not just paying them responsibly. The trustees have every right to ask questions during a board meeting. It's just basic common sense. But, as we've seen, common sense isn't so common, especially when Tiffany Henyard is involved. Now, here's what's really interesting. When Tiffany was a trustee and had her own concerns, do you think she just let things slide and voted for whatever the mayor wanted? Let's take a little trip back in time and see what Trustee Tiffany Henyard had to say about not getting information in time. That's wild, isn't it? Trustee Henyard, back then, was asking all these questions about information she should have received before the board meeting. Imagine that. The irony is real. It's crazy how everything shifts when you're sitting in a different chair. Now, let's fast forward to Mayor Tiffany Henyard and see how she reacts when the trustees start asking her the same kinds of questions.
Everybody got everything out that they wanted to say. All right, as relates to anything that happens here at the Village of Dalton, when we send out the warrant list to the Board of Trustees, it is 24/7 that you work as an elected official. If you get it late on time, you still have time to reach out to myself. As I stated in several meetings, call my phone. I work 24/7. My phone is never off. If a board member has a issue, a debate as relates to a warrant list up here, as relates to a Monday, you stated that Monday you don't have time to reach out and talk to a department head. You do. You can call Keith Freeman. He is always available. And matter of fact, in our email, we stated if anybody has questions over the weekend, we are all available to answer any questions that the board may have. What I don't like is we get at these board meetings and we grandstand on things that we could have got answers to before we got here. And then it looks like we're just debating and fighting.
As we can see, there's a striking and undeniable shift between Trustee Tiffany Henyard and Mayor Tiffany Henyard. When she was a trustee, she demanded the very same transparency and access to information that the current trustees are now requesting. But now that she's in charge, every board meeting follows the same predictable pattern, dodging accountability and withholding crucial details that the trustees need to make well-informed decisions. It's almost as if, now that she holds power, she's crafting her own set of rules, eerily mirroring the tactics of the previous mayor. And ironically, the current trustees now sound exactly like Trustee Tiffany Henyard did when she was on the other side of the table. If anyone needs to reach me, my cell number is 708-2297-6859. You can contact me or Keith Freeman. I don't know his number by heart, but you can reach out to any of us, and we will answer any questions the board may have. So, there was a motion and a second to remove certain items from the warrant list. While there's still discussion left, I'm sure others have more to say. But let me finish. Maish, you just made your statement for the record, which is why I waited until the end to make mine so we can move forward. What she's really doing here is letting everyone else speak just so she can have the final word. A classic manipulation tactic commonly linked to narcissistic behavior. Now, I'm not a psychologist, but based on my research and observations, Tiffany Henyard exhibits several traits that align with textbook narcissism. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Again, these are just my personal opinions based on what I've seen unfold. At the end of the day, the trustees made it clear. They want to ensure that certain bills are properly reviewed before payment. It's on the record, so let's call the roll and move forward. But wait, there's more to be said. We passed an ordinance stating that all hiring and firing decisions must go through the board, yet this administration refuses to comply. It's completely unacceptable. We shouldn't be receiving bills on a Saturday or a Sunday at the last minute. We just got the payroll reports, and we still have no clear breakdown of spending. This isn't personal. It's about ensuring taxpayer money is being managed properly. Without oversight and checks and balances, the narrative gets twisted, making it seem like the trustees are the problem, when in reality, we're just trying to do our jobs. Well said, Trustee Ed Steve. And there you have it. The trustees are simply trying to uphold their duty of protecting taxpayer money, while Tiffany Henyard seems unbothered because it's not her own money being spent, and she gets away with it because she surrounds herself with people who enable her, constantly giving her the green light. That's why she continues down this path of reckless decision-making, dragging Dalton along with her. That's just my opinion. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. At the end of the day, if we just keep approving everything without proper review, when budget time rolls around, we'll be looking at massive overspending, financial instability, and guess who will be blamed for it?